Hey there, welcome to the Blink Podcast. It's great to have you with us again on another wicked edition, because today we know there's challenging times out there, but many business owners are saying, hey, I want to change my result. I want to get back to where I was. I want to get a better outcome for me, my family, and also my team. What are the things that I should be focusing on? So today, there are 7 key insights to help you change your business result. And as always, we're joined with my good mate across the ditch in Melbourne, Australia, Jonathan Creek. How are you, mate? Good to see you.
I'm good, Darren. I'm good. The Tasman Sea about as bumpy as your intro at the moment.
Oh, I know. It's just not a natural, easy thing for me, you know? You guys, I mean, we're all not as perfect. We're all not as perfect.
I want the listeners to chime in on this. I want to know, what can Darren do to each other? We've been, how many years? 3 years we've been doing this, and I think you just spin too fast.
Okay, I'll slow it down. Maybe I'll slow it down.
Only because you're excited. The intent's there.
I am excited. Today's topic is just such a cool topic.
Oh, yeah. And we are, of course, the number one podcast, I think is what you said in the intro, between Australia and New Zealand.
Anyway, that's excellent. Sorry. Don't worry. I'll take the piss out of you as we go. It's all right.
We can't laugh at ourselves. Who can we laugh
Exactly. Yeah, it's just as long as you're laughing at me, I think you're happy. Right.
I know, and it gets even funnier because you cut up a little bit rough.
I do.
There it is, folks. Thanks for watching the Blink Podcast. There'll never be another episode ever again. The relationship. Bert and Ernie are breaking up. It's all done.
Oh, I love it.
Right there, you witnessed it. The ice.
Let's get focused.
That's an important topic today, but I think it's important to have a laugh, because I think in a lot of industries, both across economies right across the world.
Yeah. Totally.
Things have paused. Someone's hit the go slow button. Someone's hit the pause button. And it's like everyone's standing 30 paces away from each other, waiting for the other one to blink before we get back to the act of doing business. And it's like, no, let's just do business. It's okay. We don't have to believe the hype. We don't have to believe the news. We can actually create our own environments here and our own economies in our 100%. Own little bubbles. You can literally now do business pretty much with anyone in the world with the click of a button. So I don't think there's no boundaries anymore. So we've got to stop believing the hype that there are boundaries and that there are tough times. Sure, might not be the way it was a couple of years ago, but it doesn't mean it's all over. So today we're focused on how we can help people change their business, change their results. And get a real lift going into this Christmas period.
Because I think, mate, one of the things that's happened also is there's a lot of people out there that are comparing their marketplaces over COVID to now, right? So where the market was booming, where things were great, where things were easy, they're comparing that environment to what we've got now and going, oh my goodness, we're so down compared to that market. But really, that was a really artificial environment that we had at that time. And one of the things that I've been encouraging, and real estate is obviously we're both working, but I've been getting a lot of my companies to actually go and do some numbers about what our production levels were in 2018 and 2019. And then compare what they are to today. And many businesses are actually finding out 2018, 2019 numbers are actually quite similar to what we're doing at the moment. But because we perceive this idea that, hey, over COVID, that was a normal market, that we're underperforming. And I think it's just a case that we've got to have a really good look at what we're doing in our businesses and just be careful that we're not comparing to, a period of time that was just an absolute unique situation.
And I think that's right. I think you spoke about it on another interview that we did last week, where when they go back and compare those numbers, that the numbers that they've got now are actually better than pre-COVID.
Yeah,
it's just that they had such a high rise during that period, and they've come off the back of it that they think it's bad and amplified bad. what they got to realise is what we went through, the world went through in that period, is abnormal. It's a once in a generational event.
Yes.
And as an outcome, you can't base where you're at now against that. It's not a benchmark for measuring against. It's an anomaly in the statistics.
Yep, well done, mate. That's exactly it. Yep, bloody bang on.
Now, so I'm going to apologise ahead of time because I'm going to be jumping in and out of the mute button here because, as you may be able to hear, I've got 2 dogs sitting in here who have decided that sleeping now is not what they should be doing, and I'm going to be telling them off. So,
okay,
jump in and out of the mute, just that understand everybody, that's what it is.
Well, that might be just an additional comment they're offering up on these topics that we've got to go through. So let's get into them. I want to get into these topics.
And for the lip readers watching on YouTube, yes, it is foul language.
I love it. I love it. Okay, so where I want to start today is, and this is something that you and I have talked about a lot, both on podcast and off, is the sense of high performance versus average performance. And, you know, if you want to change your result in your business, one of the things that I really think you got to do some thinking about is what level of performance is your business at the moment and what are you happy with? Because I truly believe that there is a real difference between what I would call average or mid-road performance in a business and what I'd consider to be high performance in a business, and getting an understanding about where your business sits today, and not just your business, but actually where you sit personally today as well. Because I think that decision making between I'm good at what I do versus I'm a high performer at what I do is actually a real mindset shift.
Yeah, right. Because most people would default high performance to action.
Yeah.
And why? Yeah, because I think the first introduction most people get to the term high performance is linked to sport, Olympics, all that sort of stuff. And high performance is who's taking the most action, who's training the hardest, who's sweating the most, who's doing the most things. And in business, it's a different application.
Yeah, totally. But you think about it, and you know this from your kids' sports. If you make a decision that you're going to be a high performer, if you're going to be a high performer in anything, that decision creates a follow-up of events or activities that means you're a high performer. I truly don't think it's the other way around. I don't think you gradually step into the space and you gradually improve to become a high performer. I think you make the decision that you're a high performer sports person or a high performer in business. And that means that you start to have to behave in a specific way.
Yeah, I think that's a really interesting question that we had in our pre-production meeting, was you said, well, what do you define as a high performer? And you sort of I had to sort of work through the layers of what I thought about before I got to what the actual answer is. And look, it's easy now because I've gone through the layers and got to the answer. But for anyone who's listening, just take 1 or 2 seconds just to think, what do you define as a high performer? It's a question Darren asked me just before. So just take this moment. We might even put in some elevator music, who knows. What do you define, or how do you define a high performer?
And that's a great question, mate. And that's a great question.
It gets you thinking, and great questions do. Now, when you mention my kids, it takes me back to the story of my oldest. She decided very early on, 7 or 8, that she wanted to be a high performer in sport, in hockey. And she's a very lateral thinker who's a natural maths brain, not like her dad. She's all about maths and numbers. And so she sat there and calculated how many hours a week does she train?
Yes.
How many hours a week does she play? And how many hours a week does everyone that she wants to be better at train and play?
Wow.
And it was like, okay, great. And I said, well, it's 1 hour training, 1 hour game. Like, they're playing under 8s hockey. And I said, well, how much better do you want to be than everybody? And she goes, I want to be 5 times better. Great. And so she came back about 3 or 4 days later, and she had a chart where she had time in her schedule for me to take her down to the hockey field, and she could do 5 more hours than everybody else.
Love it.
To be 5 times better.
Love it.
I think what that gets to, Darren, is it gets to our answer is what defines a high performer. And yes, it is the actions that you take that get you there, but you pin this perfectly. It's the mental position, it's the mental thinking of setting standards that you're not going to slip from.
Yep.
You making the mental decision to say, I'm going to be a high performer, and the actions follow after that mental state.
And I actually, the more we've discussed this, the more I'm realizing I don't know where many people are actually making that decision. And those that maybe get to a point where they are at that state of making that decision get nervous about making that decision because of what the activities will lead to after that decision. So as soon as I become a high performer, does that mean that I'm working 5 nights a week? As a high performer, do I now have 7 or 8 people on my team, and what's the financial costs or risks around that? Or do I have to make more calls? And at the end of the day, I don't know if I've got enough people to call, or what are those requirements that I need to have? And I think that uncertainty or fear of what some of those decisions will need to be made stops them making that I'm going to be a high performer decision.
I also think there's a second layer to this too, which is where you get people who have a desire to be a high performer.
Yes.
Society holds high performers on their shoulders. If you stay out there for too long in Australia, they'll cut you down soon enough.
Welcome to New Zealand.
Poor poppy syndrome scenario, rather than celebrate the hard workers. But if you want to be a high performer, but you've only got novice or beginner systems and applications in your processes, then you can scramble as much as you like for maybe 1, 2, 3 months, but eventually you're going to burn out because you can become a high performer through personal exertion.
Yes.
An increase in personal exertion, but in the end you'll burn out. High performers have the personal exertion, but they also have the support systems and processes around them that allow them to maintain it for longer than everybody else.
Yep.
And we're going to get into some of those today. We're going to discuss what are some of the things that you need to have around you and to be really clear on in order to not only get yourself into a high performance state of mind, but then to support the activities that you need to be partaking in order to remain there.
Yeah, I love it. Yep, absolutely. Yep, that's exactly right. And man, oh man, like just to be able to sit down with a cup of coffee, a glass of wine, or a beer, and to be able to sit there just for some time and actually look at where you've come from and where you are currently in your business, whether it's employed or self-employed, just to think about where you are on that journey and to take a moment where you actually go, I want to make a decision to be able to step up my results. I want to step up who I am. I want to get into that high performing category is actually a decision you need to take some time to have a think about. Because I see this all the time. People go, actually, I'm scared about making that decision, or I don't want to. I'm happy where I am. I'm happy. I'm okay. I'm okay. And that okay word just scares me big time because, that they know that they're not achieving. They know they're not where they could or should be. And they're just giving themselves a nice, easy, soft out of I'm okay, or I don't need to change. I'm happy where I'm at, and that's a concern.
And I think this is where the comparison back to COVID can trip some people over. Is that you got we had lockdowns over here like nowhere else. Car dealerships were selling cars like hotcakes because people had cash.
Yep.
There weren't enough Ford Rangers in Australia for everyone that wanted one.
Yep.
And that inflated the numbers. That inflated people's numbers. They were setting personal best sales records just by being order takers. They were just taking orders and here's the keys. Even in real estate, they were just order takers. I need a house. Yep, there's one. Like they weren't having to work for it. They weren't having to cut the deals. Yes, they had to meet people and whatever, but it was easy. If they're looking back now and saying, I'm not a high performer because 2, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, I was selling 100 cars a month, and this month I've only sold 50. Well, you've got to have a level of awareness around the market being the market.
It is. You still could be a high performer. You still could be a high performer compared to what the rest of the market are doing. And that's the decision, right? That's the key part about this is what we've got to do is go, okay, what is our benchmarking? How are we just defining that high performance versus average and actually strive to be in that category, that high performing category? Because from my perspective, I don't think very often the step from being an average performer to high performer is that big. It's not a big step. It's actually quite a small step, but you have to purposely take it. And I think that can be sometimes the fear and the challenge.
All fear is the fear of the unknown.
Yep.
And if they've never been a high performer, or they were a high performer and they crashed,
yep.
They can be too scared to take the step. But today, we're going to give them the plan. We're going to give them the things that they have to go through in order to get really clear on what it is you need to do to step it up.
Yep. Love
it. Continue to step it up. And the more that you work this framework that we've got, the clearer you'll get, and the better you'll get, and the higher you'll climb, and the happier you'll be. Promise you. Yeah.
Yep.
I read a quote the other day. There's two ways to make a human being happy. And I'm not undermining anyone who's got challenges in mental health or any of that. There's two ways to, I don't want to oversimplify it, but this quote was amazing. 2 ways to make a human happy: get them to work out and be healthy, and give them money.
Yeah.
So have them earning money, that removes a lot of the stress, and have your health, and that also removes a lot of the stress.
Yeah, absolutely. Love it.
This is what high performance is all about.
Yeah, 100%.
To the top, remuneration. Then you have time to go and be healthy. You're not worrying about where the money's coming from next month. All those sorts of things. We're going to eradicate it today, right here on the Blink podcast.
Boom.
All right, okay. Number 1, vision.
Yep. So this one for me.
Average. Is that what we're doing?
Yeah, well, I think that conversation is around high performance and being average is you just got to make that decision, right? Making a decision to be a high performer is actually, sit down, have a think about it. Where are you at now? How far are you away from your industry sector's high performance category? And just think about, do you want to be in that category? You know what? One of the things that happens for me is when I talk to people about this, most of the time they say they want to be there. They want to be in the high performing category. Right. And yet there's the other group that say, no, I'm okay where I'm at. So just having that thinking about where do you want to be is important. The next one, as you said, was...
and just to reiterate, that comes from setting yourself standards and expectations.
Absolutely. Yep.
Don't just book your calendar out from 9 till 10:30 and say, I'm going to make 20 calls and then not do it.
Yep.
You've got to hold yourself accountable.
Yep. Well, one of the things that I have a little bit of a chuckle about is in many of my sessions is that I'll get people in the room and I'll say to them, right, here's a framework that'll help you fix this particular issue, right? Here they are. Here's 8 things. If you do this 6 things, if you focus on these 2 and do that one and do it in this order, this will get you this result. And then I say to people, okay, so go home tonight, say to your family that I was with a really great trainer today, gave us a whole lot of insights into actually how to improve my business, improve my connection with my customers, sell more and earn a shitload more money so we can have a life that we could never have dreamed possible, but I've made the decision not to do it because I'm just a bit uncomfortable about taking that step. What would your family say? What would your family say?
I'm tipping you're not getting dessert.
You're not getting dessert. In fact, you're probably sleeping with the dog in the doghouse, right? Because that's just daft. But this is the bit that I have all the time, right? Is just that piece of people getting the content or getting the information and they're not making the decision to do. So number 1, make a decision that you want to be a high performer and actually commit to making that decision. Don't worry about what you have to do after it, but just make a decision that you want to be in that high performing category. The next one, number 2, is all about creating a clear vision of what that actually for you looks like. Now, I think you and I, we agree on this one quite a lot, is you have to make the vision for you personally. It's not my vision for you. It's not Jonathan's vision for you. It has to be yours of what you want it to look like. And I want you to be a bit aspirational on that one. I think that's the key part for me, because don't get sucked into the, oh, it is what it is, and I'm at the level I am, and that's the way it'll be. No, let's just really step that position up and say, hey, there is an opportunity here for you to really set a vision of what you want and actually what it could be.
And in regards to doing that, you're talking about people sitting there and saying, okay, here's where your business is now. Where do you want it to be? What do you want it to look like? There's a guy who most people from the MTV era would know by the name of Rob Dyrdek. He's a professional skateboarder. He hosts a show on MTV called Ridiculousness, which was probably TikTok, before pre-TikTok. The guy's on his way to being a billionaire, and he started a podcast just recently called The Dyrdek Machine, and it's purely about him and how he manifests what he wants in his life.
Nice.
By just envisioning it. He sets the vision. He sits there and goes, here's where I am. Here's where I want to go or want to be. This is what I want my business to look like. This is how many people I want. And he sets the vision. And then all the steps and everything else follows behind or below that. And I know that moves into the next section that we're talking about, is identifying that gap. But first, you got to get really clear on what you want your life to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there are people who say, oh, I'm okay, I'm all right where I am, this is my life, I'm comfortable. But you know what? They're the ones who are waking up at 4 o'clock in the morning, cursing themselves for wasting years.
Yep, 100%.
Or cursing other people for their success.
You got it.
They've got an edge. They've got an edge to them. You can pick them out of a room every time you step in it. We see you. We see, like people like Darren and I, we see you, and we know that there's a pain. We know there's a pain, but they just have to trust.
Yeah.
They just have to trust.
Yeah.
That by taking the steps, that you're not going to get hurt. Like, it might not be a perfect ride, but it's not going to hurt anywhere near as much as you think, or your brain tricks you into thinking that it's going to hurt if it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
There's no one in this world that's gone backwards by doing more.
No. Another realization that I had, it was a long time ago, was one of the best things that you can do to help develop that vision is go and be in that space that you want to be in. Yeah. So go and be in the space that you want to be in. So it might be find the top performer or a really high performer in your industry, and just ring them up and say, do you mind if I come and spend a couple of hours just watching what you do? Can I, if you want a flash car, what's the best way to get a flash car? Is to go to the dealership and sit in it. That is the best way for you to ever own a flash car, because once you sit in it, you'll make the decision, do I really want this or not? And if you do, it will open the doors for you to be able to go and get it, because that's the shift, right? So what you kind of got to do is to create that vision is to go and stand in the house that you think you might want to own one day, or go and, go and meet some people that are in the industry sectors that are really good performers and that you want to be like. Go and see what they do. Go and see how they work, because once you get that clarity, you very, very quickly will start to move in that direction. And that's why, we are talking about visualizing and manifesting what you want in the future. I'm a big fan of giving your mental state the target of where you really want to go. I'm a big believer in that.
Yeah, and folks, we're not just saying that you go and do this. We actually do it, and I don't even know if Darren realizes this, but when Darren and I first met, he called me over for one of his wonderful retreats at
McCallum
House. It was unbelievable, and he was going to fly me in on the morning, and then we're going to drive down and we're going to do the retreat, and we're going to then come home. And I said to him, no, I actually want to come a couple of days early and go with you on your training sessions. Have you got any on those days? Oh, yeah, I'm heading down to Huntley or past Huntley or wherever it was. We're headed somewhere. And that was exactly what I was doing. Am I going to be moving into the training space? Yes, this is what I want to do. I want to do it at a high level. Here's a guy who's a high performer. He wants me to come to his retreat. Why not just take an extra 48 hours early to go and sit in that room. I thank you for that still to this day. And I walked out of there and all the fear of the unknown was gone. Yeah, and this wasn't from an ego position. I think we sat there and had dinner that night. And I went, you know what? I actually, you did really well today. And I actually think I could do this too. And that was the realization of I could have this.
Yep.
And yeah, I even did it as a professional speaker. I made the decision to be a professional speaker. But then I took a year going to every event here in Melbourne. From Tony Robbins to all these other, like I went to Gary Vaynerchuk, I went to all of them. And I didn't go to any of them for the actual speakers. Maybe Gary Vaynerchuk, I went for him. I was a bit of a fanboy at the time. But I literally just went there to see how do they do it and how do these events run.
Yeah.
How do the speakers get it done.
Yeah, I love it.
Studying the art of it. So
okay.
you could project it and feel it and live it. So you got to have that vision.
Okay, so started off today, getting people to take a moment to decide whether they want to be a high performer or not. Make that decision. Number 2 is actually go and identify 2 or 3 people that you know are in the category that you'd like to be. Get on the phone, ring them up and say, hey, I really respect you in my industry sector. I'm impressed by what you do. Would you spend an hour of time with me just to give me a bit of an idea about where I can go in my career? Now, my experience is this. High performers will absolutely spend an hour of their time to share that insight because they appreciate that conversation because they know they've done it themselves, right? Yep. And that for our viewers and listeners today, just identify 3 people, make the call, go and spend 1 hour with each of those people, and that will give you a really, really clear idea about creating the vision that you want to do. I say this to real estate agents all the time. If you want to be a high performer, go and find the high performer in your office, go and sit behind them for an hour and just watch what they do. And it'll give you an idea about how you can position yourself, to that level in your business.
Yeah, and there's a study to that. It's called the Simpsons syndrome, where if you put Bart Simpson in a classroom, everyone else in the classroom will perform at a lower level. But if you put Lisa Simpson in the classroom, everyone in the classroom will perform at a higher level.
Nice. Love it.
You take that science with you and say, well, I want to be going up a level, so go and sit yourself next to the Lisa Simpson in your world who's doing what you want to do. Now, once you do that, once you work out where you want to go, once you work out where the people are and what they're doing compared to where you are, the gap appears. And this is
well done. Yep.
Right?
Love it.
Appears. And the gap appeared for me when I spent that time with you. Not only where did we go that day? Give me the name.
Hamilton.
No, we went to Hamilton. Beautiful. The sushi was great. The Japanese restaurant was great down there. But after that and the retreat, I sat on the plane on the way home, and all I was thinking about was the gap. How do I bridge the gap? How do I jump the gap? Now, have I fully jumped the gap? Not yet. Still a work in progress. But I'm a lot closer than what I was before I even went down there.
And that's achievement, right? That's the journey. And that's the bit where, if we can just get an understanding of where we are today versus where we want to be, that gap is created. Now, all we need to do is just break down that gap. What are the components within that gap that you need to achieve, fix, improve, develop, train in, whatever it is, that those definitions there is exactly becomes your action plan. All right. And that's the piece.
Do.
Yeah. Yep.
Do. What are the things you need to do?
Yep. Absolutely.
In order to bridge the gap. And that can, you said that can be education. I'm a big believer in never stop learning.
Totally.
And the scenario is too, like, high performers don't stand still.
You can't.
It's hard for me to catch you. Like the gap that was existing 3 years ago or wherever it was, you're in a different spot now. You're further ahead. So not only am I trying to bridge the gap that existed, you're still moving forward. So I've got to keep moving too. You know what I mean?
Yep. And see, that's the advantage of having the relationships with other high performers in your industry sector, right? Is that the rising tide lifts all boats, right? And that's the piece where we've got to keep thinking about is making sure you've got that network around you to help you with that gap. Because, most of the people that are high performers will have either overcome or, created solutions to get from where they were to where they are, and most of them are more than willing to share those insights. And for you to be able to fill that gap with the steps and the doing to create that plan. And I think, in our pre-production conversation, you mentioned the word systems as well, is helping get the understanding of what are the systems that you need to fill that gap as well to move your business on is really important. So yeah, I think doing that gap analysis, I use it a lot in lots of different businesses to go, where are we now, where do we want to be, and what are the things that we need to do in the middle? Because once you've got that clarity, man, oh man, it's way easier to do, because then you're just doing the steps, and it keeps you focused.
Yeah, the first 3 steps of this plan is all about getting that compass set up. Like, where are you? Where do you want to go? And the gap is, well, what are the steps you need to take to get there? So all of a sudden you've set a plan. There's no escaping the plan. It just makes it really simple. And then the next step is, what are the actions you need to take in order to fulfill the steps? And you take that down as, you've got 3 steps to that, which is connect, the client opportunity, and face-to-face. But it all centers around taking action. It's just got to be the right kind of action. I think you and I meet so many people who are busy and active, but they're almost spinning on the spot.
So what? Remember today's topic is about creating business result change, right? And I thought about this and sort of thought, okay, so if I wanted to change a business's result really quickly, there are 3 key things that I need to do with that business. Number 1 is understand how they're connecting with the marketplace and how they're connecting with their customers. Because if we're not connecting with enough, or connecting with more, or actually we're not even connecting, then we are not going to create a result that we want. The second part is to make sure that you've got creating enough client opportunities. So that basically means putting offers in front of your customers, because you know how we had that conversation before about COVID. Basically, the customer came in and said, I'll have one of those in blue things, right? So the customer created the opportunity because you had the car, they're going to make the purchase. But now what we've got is a situation where the customers aren't walking in. So we've got to create the offer or create the opportunity. And then the last one that I'm just passionate about it now is getting businesses to be more face-to-face with customers. You obviously work extremely well in the brand and the digital space, but the best part that I enjoy with you is that you realize that you've got to get your customer into that buying position. So it's using those tools to get face-to-face and create the sale close. And I think those 3 components, if you want to change your result right now in this market, are really, really good things that you should be really focusing on.
Yeah, and I think that's the misnomer of social media, right? Is that how to make $1 million in 21 days and work 2 hours a week and stay in bed and have your laptop on the beach and never have to deal with a difficult customer ever in your life or deal with people. It's not how social media works. Maybe in 2013 and 14, there was people who were living that lifestyle, and maybe there's still people who can do it today. But for the majority of people who are in legitimate businesses, legitimate industries, social media is simply a tool to scale what Darren's just talking about. You can use social media to connect with more people than ever before.
Yes, true.
So
Good call.
That's
very good.
The second step you said is client opportunities. Because you're connecting and communicating with more people, you're then able, once you've made that initial connection, because if you go straight in with a sell and creating the client opportunity, they shut you down because no one goes to Facebook for the ads. All right, so it's about creating the connection. Then once you've formed that relationship, then you can get into a conversation about what the client opportunity is, but you've got to do it natural. Even though you're using digital tools, it's got to be a natural, as you would in a conversation with a human. You're not going to be introduced to someone at a cafe and then all of a sudden say, hey, I'm a real estate agent, I want to sell you a house, without even knowing if they actually need a house. Then what that does is, once the client opportunity is intriguing enough or has enough value, you use social media to trigger the face-to-face meeting. It simply just allows you to follow the basic steps of business in the new world at scale.
So, ladies and gentlemen, I would just like to make the announcement. That is why Jonathan Creek is so bloody good at what he does, because you understand that process, mate. And that's the piece where, and I know all your clients that get you in is to get their teams to go on that journey with their clients. And when you've now just explained that using those headings, I mean, if I put my spin on it in terms of a sales piece, I can truly see how your social media, digital connection, and client opportunity and face-to-face can apply to that so seamlessly as well. And I just think that's awesome. That's really, really clever. Very good.
Thank you. I appreciate that. There is one sort of lesson, and this struck me the other day. So, as you know, Darren, I run a program called Alpha, where I work one-on-one with people about things. My number one high performer, I interviewed him the other day, and I spoke to him about the opening question was, his name's Tom. I said, Tom, you really enjoy the success that you've had from making videos in business, and he's in real estate. And he has literally in 18 months gone from Mr. Average, selling maybe 2 or 3 houses a month at an average price of $500,000 to now selling 16 to 20 houses a month, average price $1.5 to $2 million.
Wow.
And all he embraced, and I said to him, you must really enjoy making videos. And his response really hit to the core of that. He goes, I don't see it as making videos. I just enjoy communicating with my community. And that's the key to it all. It's not the act of creating.
That's the change, right? That's the change.
It's the shift of communicating.
I love it.
Different tools.
That's very cool. Yeah, that's really cool. Okay, let's move to the next one. And I reckon if you want to change your business result, this one is just, you've got to take a moment as well and just go have a think about how you use your time. I'm one, I'm a bit critical on myself on this one a bit, because I am very focused on where I spend my time and what I'm doing with my time. And I can sometimes get a bit critical that, hey, I got distracted, or I got sidetracked, or I got taken off task. But how you use your time has got to be one of the key focuses to change your business result. Where you spend your time will generally be what generates your result.
100%. And I'm probably the other way. I give away my time too freely.
Right.
My every school report I've ever had, from the first day I stepped into school to the last day I left, every report has this one comment: easily distracted. Easily distracted. Now, I'm not saying it's any sort of diagnosable, Darren. And when you run your own business or you're working in business, it is the greatest curse.
Yep. Yep, absolutely.
You can be busy and have no spare minutes in the day, but when you go back to your vision, when you go back to the steps you need to make to narrow the gap, is what you were doing all day moving you towards closing that gap? And it's only in the last 12 to 18 months, and I think you knocking me on the head with a wooden spoon to say, listen, you've got to make the steps to make the steps, right? You've got to be heading in the right direction, not zigging and zagging to every little distraction. And one of those distractions at the moment is I've just taken possession of an old motor vehicle, and trying to get this motor vehicle roadworthied and restored has me taking it in all different directions all over town to all different specialists. And man, it's a time sucker. And it actually needs to be picked up this week. And I actually was really tough with myself. I said, no distractions this week. So the poor mechanic that's got this car, if he's watching the show, hello, I actually just said to him, I can't pick it up till Friday. And the reason why I can't pick it up till Friday is because I've got work to do.
Yeah.
I'm protecting my time when the people who I need to connect with are going to be best connected. They're not going to want to talk to me as much on a Friday as they will on a Monday to a Thursday. So I'm making the most of my Monday to Thursday time, and then on Friday I'll find a 1 hour window to go pick up this car. That's it. Protect your time.
I love it. Well done, you. Here's one for me. And if I said, okay, all our listeners, just pick one day next week, which you're going to be, and I put this word out there, you're going to be brutally efficient with the use of your time. Just one day where you are going to control every bit of time that you can to focus you on just doing the things that are important for you and are going to get you to where you want your business to be. Just one day. No distractions, no going for coffee, no doing stuff. Just be brutally clear that this is my task list for the day. I'm not going to let people distract me from this list, and I'm going to make the commitment. Even if you have to let people know that this day is not a non-distraction day, and that you watch how much you achieve in the one day. You watch how much you clear out in that one day, because you are so much more disciplined about what you're going to spend your time on. Now, it will take a bit of a plan, because remember, you've got the 8 hours, or you might, some people do this for 18 hours. So they do the 18-hour plan. So you just go, right from when I wake up for 18 hours, I'm just going to be brutally ruthless about what I'm actually going to use it for. And man, oh man, that day becomes massively productive, but actually really enjoyable. And as soon as you get that feeling of going, actually, that was a really good day. I got my walk in early. I dropped the kids at school. I did the things that I actually, were important to me, but I made it an absolutely highly productive day. All of a sudden, it'll start to become a habit, and just to give yourself a feeling of what that would look like.
Yeah, and there's some great tools out there to help you achieve this. So
Yeah.
The one that I really love is they call them like a procrastination clock, and they almost look like a hockey puck. And you turn the dial, and it's a digital clock, and it goes up to however many minutes or hours that you want it to be, and you press start.
Yep.
And basically, you set the window of time that you're going to work on a task. Okay, I've got
nice
to do. Whatever it is, 20 calls or 20 emails or 20 messages or cut a video or whatever it is, I'm going to give myself 45 minutes to get that done. And I'm going to have 5 minutes off at the end to do whatever I need to do. Stretch the legs, make a cup of tea, go to the bathroom. Then you come back and you set your next task. And so you're actually assigning tasks to time. And I did this recently, actually. It's funny that you raised it. I had a day where I'm like, right, from 7:30 in the morning when I'm up, straight to work. Like, no walking. I didn't, the poor dogs didn't get a walk. I didn't go into the backyard or the garden. I didn't wander around. I didn't talk to mates. I didn't accept anything other than, and I called it a deep work day.
Yeah, love it.
That deep work day has brought me more opportunities for the next month than all the days the previous month.
Well done.
And you do get addicted to it.
Yeah. That's it. And that's the piece for me, is I know that if I can block out 2 or 3 hours, and I just go, right, get on the phone, smash out your calls, just ring everybody and anybody, check in, where's everybody at, how's life, what's happening. It's so valuable to be able to give yourself that framework of time. And when you do, you go, man, that was amazing to be able to knock that out. And that's what puts you in that high performing category, right? And it's such a good discipline to help yourself.
Sorry, mate, the postman just went past. I think I muted it.
You did well.
I wasn't not paying attention. I was just trying to control things. I agree. It's so, time's all we've got, right?
Yep.
Time is all we've got.
Yep.
And there's no greater loss in the world than wasting time.
Yep. And look, in this one. Yeah, it is. And the thing is, if you can get a handle on this one and start to be more disciplined about this one, you will really change your business result, because I think you'll start to be where you need to be and focused on the things you need to be focused on, and just by allocating that time out. So yeah, it's really important, man.
And from one time waster to others, not you, to others who may be watching, don't beat yourself up for wasting time. If you think that you've wasted time
in the past,
I look back at a period from 2013 to 2016, and really, it was YouTube's greatest era. It was YouTube's great. It was the golden era of YouTube, and I think my day consisted of I'd get up, I'd do some work, send emails, and then by 11 o'clock I'd have a cup of tea, and then I'd turn on YouTube. And at the time I was researching YouTube for the book that I've now written, but at the time I was taking advantage. Yeah, I'd watch videos for 45 minutes and I'd go, oh, well, it's 15 more minutes till lunchtime, so don't go back to work. So then it'd get to 12:30 and I'm like, oh, well, no one's going to answer calls at 12:30 because they're at lunch. So there'd be 1:30. So I'd watch 2 hours of YouTube every day for a couple of years. And I remember maybe a year or so ago, I was beating myself up about how I wasted that time. But you wouldn't be where you were and you wouldn't have realised but if you hadn't experienced that. So don't beat yourself up. Take it as a lesson. And if you do regret it, just use it as motivation not to do it again.
Totally. And that's what I was going to say is don't stress about time lost in the past. Don't stress about that piece because what can you change? You can't change anything, right?
You're just wasting more time.
You're wasting more time. So what you got to do is go, right, from now on, I'm not going to do that again and I'm going to make sure that I'm moving in this direction. Now we're away.
Yeah, look at how it made me feel right now. Let's not do that again.
Let's go.
Move. Do.
Okay, last one. Last one is make sure that you get accountable to someone. I reckon that if you... What's that? Yeah, well, I just put that... Yeah, with time. Yep. Yeah. That's in time. So the big thing for me, if you want to change your business result, is actually get yourself accountable to somebody. Actually get an external person to help you with your journey. Because whether you're self-employed or whether you're employed, having someone external to your business or internal of your business, but not necessarily in your sector, that can actually sit down with you from time to time and go, hey, let's just review where you're at on your process, on your journey, have a think about your gap analysis of where you were and where you want to be, how you're going with those steps. You have got to have somebody that's external to you, because I reckon what I see quite often is people will make excuses or position their workload that they've done or completed and then justify it through their own lens and basically through what they saw or what they think. But what you've got to do is have somebody else's lens look across your work and go, was this a level that you should be at? Or did you learn what you needed to learn? And to have that person to help you be accountable to that is just a must. And I truly don't see that enough.
Yeah, I think my world turned the moment that I invited someone else to have a look under the hood.
Yep, nice. Yep.
Prior to that, the standards could slip because I was setting them. And we've said this before in other episodes.
Yeah,
if you're setting goals, you got to write them down. But not only write them down, you got to have other people know about them so that they can hold you to account. Accountability is key, and that's what you're talking about here. Someone who can hold you accountable. But also, it makes it even better if you've got someone who can hold you accountable and is already where you want to go because they know what it takes to get there.
Love it.
Don't just find, don't find a parent or a partner or a friend to hold you accountable if they've got no idea about what it is that you're attempting to achieve.
Love it.
The superpower is to find someone who's where you want to be.
Yep.
And then they can hold you accountable and move it forward. Now, here comes the actual parcel delivery guy. So this is going to
No, but this is the part for me and I know this with my business as well, is as soon as you get somebody that you go, actually, can you have a look at this? What do you think? Where I'm at, what have I done? You know what? Most of the time they'll actually say to you, do you know what? You're doing a bloody good job, but actually have a think about this or change this or why are you doing that? And so some people feel nervous or challenged by having someone look under the hood. But what you got to do is realize that most of the time, what you're going to be doing is really good. It just means that you've got somebody external that can come in and go, actually, here's a couple of things that I really want you to focus on and improve. And that support and encouragement to find the person that can help you along that line, for me, is just a must. And, have a think about around your business, your existing business at the moment. Have a think about, when you go to industry association meetings or industry conferences, have a look around the room and someone that you could get on with, trust. They're the people that actually could become your accountability buddy, and to have a conversation with them to say, hey, I really want to improve. I want to lift my game. I want to become a high performer. I see you're at this level. Would you be someone that would mentor or coach me and hold me accountable? I think that's such a critical thing.
I'm back. I think you're so right. Sorry about that, but the parcel delivery person delivered the parcel. You probably, standing up. I was listening. Accountability is the key to it. Because if you don't do it, if you don't do it, you will slip. Unless there are some people in the world that have got such mental fortitude that they can hold themselves to it.
Yep.
But the majority of people, 98%,
but not very often.
98% of people need that from someone else. And not only that, it makes it more fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
Particularly if things start lifting and going in the right direction, it makes it so much more fun to share your journey.
Yeah, 100%. Yep.
I just encourage anyone to find someone to do that. What a great plan, Darren. Just to go through it again, we'll just quickly recap it. High performance versus average. Where are you at? You need to assess where you're at and be brutally honest with yourself. Don't be harsh, but be honest. Don't tiptoe around the tulips. Just be honest. Work out where you are. There's no shame in knowing where your beginning is. And if you are lower than you want people to think you are, how much of a better journey is it when you actually become a high performer and highly successful if you're starting down low? Second, have a really clear vision of where it is you want to go and what you want to do. That'll give you the gap that you need to cover. From the gap, you work out the steps and the actions you need to take. But it all business circles around these 3 steps. Connect, create the client opportunity, and get more face-to-face meetings. It doesn't matter what tools you use as long as you follow those 3 steps of connecting, creating the opportunity, and ending up with a face-to-face meeting, because that's where business is done. Everyone can tell. They can, even if it's via Zoom, it's still face-to-face. So that is how humans work. There's no rewiring that in the next 10 to 50 years. So if you invest in those skills now, they'll serve you for the rest of your working career. Time, be really brutal with your time. Do Darren's challenge of the deep work day. Get up and really calculate where you're wasting time. Really force yourself not to waste any. Make the most of every moment. And, don't sign up to these beliefs that were created in the Industrial Revolution that, 8 hours work, 8 hours rest, 8 hours sleep. Who even invented that? That's like saying that breakfast is the most important meal of the day. It's a marketing trick. Don't buy into it. Your time is the time that you need to get it done is the time that you need to put into it. That's it. The only determination of time is you've already set your vision. You know the gap. How long does it take you to get it done? And if you finish early, well, it just means more time to push even further ahead. So get brutal. Look at your calendar. Manage it really well. Don't make any gaps in there. And also, as we said, find someone who can hold you accountable, because it's going to make this journey. It's going to make this journey work a lot quicker. You're going to have success earlier, and you're going to enjoy it more. And who doesn't want that?
I reckon this session, mate, that we've done is absolutely vitally important in the environment we've got right now. I just say to our listeners, just take on board those concepts and just really put them into your business and have a look in 2 months, just 2 months time, and see what your result is. Because, when you look at those and the simple steps, but you and I see this all the time. Most of the people that we come into contact with have got great talent, great ability to do the job, but if they could just put the structure in place to lift their performance, they would absolutely get themselves a life that they could only wish to have had. And I think it's just about making that commitment to do these key components, put them into place, and then be brutally honest about making sure that you're actually going to do it. So great session, mate. This is one of my favorites, because I do know that if you actually do this stuff, you actually will change your result.
Yeah, it's amazing. I was sitting here yesterday and the house across the road is for sale, and I saw the agent turn up for the open for inspection. It's a great little story. And I'm like, okay, here comes the Mercedes, and the board comes out. And then I looked at who hopped out of the car, and I was like, oh, wow, there's a familiar face. There's a guy that I trained 6 weeks ago. And he came up to me after the event and, oh, yeah, I need to make more video. I need to own my patch. I need to create more opportunities. I need to lift up. I need to boost up. Things are a bit quiet, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go to that open for inspection. I've got no interest in buying that house, but I want to see this guy. And so I walked in there. And he looked at me, and I don't think he really recognised me, which I was a little bit offended by, but I got past it. And then I looked at him and said, hey, Aaron, you were at my training 6 weeks ago. How are the videos going? Oh, nah. I said, listen, don't give me excuses.
Love
You're telling me you haven't had 10 minutes between now and 6 weeks ago to knock out a video? I said, I've been sitting across the road. You've had this house open for inspection for 15 minutes. No one's come in. No one's come in. You could have used that time to make a video.
Oh, I'm proud of you. Proud of you.
He looked at me and I said, well, you're not going to change unless you start doing things a bit different. Like if you do, that's the whole thing, right? Keep doing the same thing, stuck in the same pattern, you're going to get the same results. So action, folks. Be accountable. And
let's go.
Darren's already taken for accountability. He's my mentor in accountability. You have to find someone else. But maybe in this community you can find someone. Leave it in the comments if you're looking for a mentor or someone to hold you accountable. Say yes and what industry you're in, and we'll try and link you all up, because that's what it's all about. Connecting.
So good.
Great episode. Well done, mate. It's season 3, episode something. But we've reached 1,000 downloads. So
that's so cool. It's on the grow.
Yeah, that's it. We're on the go. Yeah, we'll celebrate that. Thank you, mate. Catch you next time. See you later.
Sounds good. Take care, everybody. See you soon. Bye.